The news industry has one job: keep you watching. Not calm, not happy, watching. Have you ever opened the news for 5 minutes and walked away feeling more anxious, more angry, more exhausted? That's not an accident. So what if the problem isn't your life? What if it's your news feed? And what if the people who stopped following the news altogether aren't uninformed? In a world where everyone claims to know it all and is drowning in doomsday notifications every 5 minutes, you calmly close the news tab and think, what if I'd be happier without all this chaos? If this is your secret trick, congratulations. Your brain has just activated its defense mode against the information apocalypse. Imagine that your mind is a cozy library full of ideas, reflections, and quiet discoveries. And the news is an uncontrollable mob that bursts in, shuffles the books, and throws a party without your consent. In an era where every smartphone turns into a 24/7 channel of chaos, millions of people voluntarily tune into this stream to stay in the loop. Meanwhile, you may have decided long ago, thanks, but I'll pass. And here's the surprise: your strategy doesn't make you a hermit or an indifferent person. On the contrary, psychology shows that ignoring the news is a clever way to protect your mind from overload and gain the inner clarity that enriches your life. Let's explore why your brain, by turning down its daily dose of drama, actually functions as a high-end filter, sifting out the noise and making room for real treasures. First, let's talk about why others are so glued to the news. Evolutionarily, we're programmed to be vigilant. Thousands of years ago, knowing about an approaching mammoth or a hostile tribe saved lives. Today, the news mimics that threat. Headlines about disasters, scandals, and crises activate the brain's reward system, releasing dopamine, just like a slot machine. Studies confirm that a constant stream of negative news causes an addiction similar to gambling, where every click promises a solution to anxiety, but only intensifies it. It's funny, but your refusal to engage with this isn't a weakness. It's an evolutionary upgrade. Psychologists explain, an optimal level of arousal improves productivity, but an overload of information leads to burnout when the brain simply shuts down from stress. By ignoring the news, you maintain this balance, avoiding the emotional burnout that affects those who consume media non-stop. Now, about your superpower. If you're a highly sensitive person, your brain processes information more deeply, but tires more quickly from sensory overload. The news is like a bright spotlight in a quiet room for you. It overwhelms you, causing anxiety and depression. Studies show that such people, by avoiding the media, demonstrate higher emotional intelligence and creativity. By directing empathy not toward parasocial connections with news anchors, but toward real relationships or creativity. Imagine, instead of befriending a news anchor through a screen, you build real connections or immerse yourself in the flow, a state of complete immersion where time flies and ideas are born. Without news distractions, your mind reaches this state more often, boosting productivity and well-being. But let's be honest, sometimes ignoring the news is a defense mechanism. Perhaps the evening news scared you as a child, or you simply realize that the us versus them narrative in the news amplifies unnecessary oxytocin, like in group identity, but without any real benefit. The data confirms that people who limit their media consumption are less likely to suffer from stress and have a more stable sense of self-worth that isn't dependent on external drama. Research from the University of Chicago on dopamine receptors reveals genetic variations that explain why some people don't get hooked on news-induced dopamine, preferring internal adventures instead. It's like Burging in sports psychology, only in reverse. reverse. You don't bask in the reflected glory of events, but create your own. The contrast with news junkies is amusing. They find meaning in narratives about the world, but often at the expense of their own. You, on the other hand, focus on personal growth, like introverts, preferring depth and tuning out the external noise. Extroverts draw energy from chaos, while you draw it from silence, where acetylcholine fuels reflection, not dopamine spikes. Research from the Journal of Positive Psychology links this to greater openness to experience. Art, nature, and ideas give you transcendence without overload. Ultimately, if you don't follow the news, you aren't falling behind in life. You're enriching it. Your mind, shielded from chaos, finds clarity where others drown in anxiety. This isn't escapism, but a strategy. Your inner world is a sanctuary, untouched by external noise. The next time someone says, "Don't you know anything about the world?" remember, you know your own, and that's already an advantage. Research from Springer confirms such approaches lead to greater resilience and happiness. If this resonates with you, check out the following video. Share in the comments. Are you on the news on pause team, or do you sometimes give in? Let's discuss.